So before we get to Perek Tet, we look at the last psukim of Perek Chet, and we discover something, which is that it's the end of a section. So recall that Perek Chet, we learned last week, was the wars of David HaMelech, concretizing, solidifying his kingdom, an expansive kingdom. We talked about that extensively last week. But the end it contains a few summary lines. One of them we studied with Rabbi Liebtag 2 weeks ago, where it mentions, Pasuk Tedvav, page 374 rather, verse 15, Vayimloch David al kol Yisrael, Vayihi David oseh mishpat utzedakah l'chol amo. And David ruled upon all of Israel, and behold, David does acts of justice and righteousness for his whole nation. Tetzayin, V'yoav ben Tzruya al tzava, V'yoshevet ben Achilud mazkir, V'tzedek ben Achitu, V'achimelech ben Evyatar, Kohanim Usraya Sefer, Uvnayahu ben Yehoyadav, Ha'kreti v'Apleitu v'nei David, Kohanim hayu. All of these people are somehow in the cabinet of, in the retinue of King David. It's a summation. And therefore it gives you a line about how he ruled over everyone. We talked last time about how that might be part of a structure that goes back to conquests before he gets to Yerushalayim, the section about Yerushalayim, and then the conquests after. Then it's sort of bracketing David's true desire. The heart of what he wanted to do was really to build the Mikdash in Yerushalayim, etc. And that's communicated by the arrangement of prakim, maybe not in chronological order, but more in thematic order. Whatever the case, Chapter 9 starts the next section of the Sefer. Let me give you the skira, the survey of the rest of the book. Chapter 9 and 10 are two expressions of, I would say, David acting as a Baal Chesed. David acting as a man filled with kindness for others. In one case, we'll see today, and the next one next week. Chapter 11 is the very unfortunate episode known as David and Bathsheba, and that will be where we will get into the Chet of David HaMelech. Everything from there, chapter 11, through to almost to the end of the book, chapter 20, thereabouts, Chaf, is the aftermath of the Chet. The reason why it flows 9, 10, 11 that way is because chapter 10 will also involve a war. We'll get to that next week. And the war, it's during the war that the sin of David and Bathsheba happens. And Uriah Hachiti is one of the soldiers in David's army fighting in the war in chapter 10. And then there's like a vignette, chapter 11, which ends up being much more the vignette, the terrible story of what transpires there. So chapters 9 and 10 are in a certain way, and Dat Mikra arranges it that way, the setup for what's going to happen in chapter 11. Now, how it's a setup exactly will not be apparent to us today, but hopefully in 2 weeks' time, we'll be able to come back to this parak and see this parak and the subsequent one, chapter 10, against the backdrop of the Chet. So I'm sort of just setting that up. Now, by the by, once I mentioned the skira, the overview, the book of Shmuel Bet, as it's known, Shmuel, does not end in chapter 20. There are 3 prakim after, that really 3-4 prakim after that are appended pretty much to the end of the Sefer that are not chronological in nature. They are thematic, and they're specifically appended to the end of the Sefer. When we get there, we'll understand why. It's going to be the Song of David, retrospective on his life. It's going to be the story of the census, the tragedy. We'll get to that. It's going to be the idea about how he came to Yerushalayim, particularly the purchase of a section in Yerushalayim, Goren Arvana or Arona, depending how you pronounce it, depending on which sefer you're looking at, but between Shmuel and Divrei Hayamim. But it's going to end that way, as many books do, right? Sort of, it's not just end on a high, but create the continuity between the life of David and what's going to happen in the book of Malachim, which is, of course, the transition, David to Shlomo building the Beit HaMikdash. So I'm just laying that out for you from now to appreciate that what we will see is that chapter 9 is the onset of a new unit. Where the continuity comes between chapter 8 and chapter 9 is readily apparent in the first pasuk of Perek Tet. Page 375. Vayomer David, Hachi yesh od asher notar lebeit Shaul ve'aseh imo chesed ba'avur Yehonatan. And we just finished reading in chapter 8 that he's one who does mishpat and staka. So it's very nice. He wants to do chesed with whoever's left from the house. You have one of these? Yeah. Did everyone have? Oh, there's extra. Okay, fine. Yeah. All right. So he wants to do chesed with someone from the house of Shaul, whoever's left. Asks the Malbim, page 1 here in the source packet. Malbim asks, Hasheilot, Lo yada David, mispar beit Shaul. David doesn't realize how many people are left in the house of Shaul. I mean, v'hu haya chatan hamelech. He's the son-in-law. How did he lose track of the royal family? He's married into it, remember? Answers the Malbim. Oh, so excuse me. So ask the Malbim, haya lo lomar, hachi notar od lebeit Shaul. Should have said as a declaration, here's who was left from the house of Shaul. But no, instead we're going to learn a story about how he's asking, who is it? And he gets a report, and the report is a strange report a little bit. We'll see now. So, hachi, second line. Hachi yesh od asher notar lebeit Shaul. Mivu'ar. It is explained. Mima shelo amar hachi notar od lebeit Shaul. Right? He asks rather, yesh od asher notar. What does it mean? Of course, he knew who was actually still alive from the house of Shaul. Ki David haya chatan hamelach. He's the son-in-law of the king. Ve'echlo yada mispar anshe beit chotno v'yada ki shloshet banav naflu b'milchama v'shnishar ben liYonatan. He knew for sure that the 3 sons of Shaul had died. He knew in the war. He knew that there was 1 son left for Yehonatan. Mishivana shimi banav shehuku al yedei givonim. And then there were 7 from his children who were killed by the Givonim. We'll come back to that story a little later.
From whose children?
From Yehonatan.
Okay, Yonatan.
Yeah. Rak shivat shebe'et, excuse me. Rak shebe'et shegavra ya David yar'u l'nafsham pen yahargem k'derech malchei kedem shayu horgim af et achehem bal yimrodu. At the time when David became more and more powerful, whoever was left in the family went to hide because the family could easily be La Familia, and they come after him, whoever's left. There's ample examples in antiquity, you could say up to the modern day, sadly, of kings killing off members of the royal family to ensure that if they, so to speak, cull the herd, they will have fewer rivals coming up. Especially the progeny of the first king. If now there's a new king, they were scared. They hid for many days until their steps were no longer known. Therefore he asked, is anybody of that family still alive today? Moreno Harav Yitzchak Abarbanel, the Malbim was very fond of the Abarbanel. They never met. They were separated by centuries. The Malbim's living in the 19th century. The Abarbanel is around in the 15th into the 16th century. David wanted to make them ministers in his cabinet. It's just like it said at the end of chapter 8. Perek Chet ends with a listing of whoever was in his cabinet. This reminds you of a modern book, maybe. More modern book. Doris Kearns Goodwin. A long but very, very excellent read. Team of Rivals. Lahavdil Fe'avdalas. But he was a big Bible reader, of course. Who wasn't back in the day? Lincoln. What did Lincoln do? He brought in all of his rivals into his cabinet. All right? Some of whom were very vociferous opponents of his, but they, of course, lamented his death, etc. Right? Salmon Chase and Stanton and the whole crew that he brought in to be part of his inner circle because he thought it would be beneficial. Right? And you can read the book Ayin Sham, not just because of keeping one's enemies close, but more than that, also because having the multiple perspectives would help him as such. And Lahavdol. But Kvar Kidamcha, Lincoln, before you, many, many, many centuries, according to the Malbim at least, that's what David HaMelech was already trying to do by bringing in all these people. Maybe. But the idea, that's what he wanted to do. Is there anyone left who's a strong man, who's a good person that we could put them in the cabinet? And he'll do kindness for him to give him status on account of Yehonatan. Remember, there were other attempts to do this. Remember when Avner ben Ner came knocking? That went to rage and ruin because Yoav, the hot-headed consigliere, wrong word, but chief of staff, killed him.
But that's why everybody who's left over from the house of Shaul may be in hiding.
Right. No, that is why they're in hiding, because they don't know what to make of it. But as it turns out, David does want to find someone, and the Navi testifies he wants to put him somehow into a cabinet, into some position. V'mashkatu ba'avur Yonatan, gilad da'ato she'ikar megamto la'agdil zera Yonatan o'avo she'ayta beinem shvu'at Elokim. The idea is that, why did it say on account of Yonatan? David revealed that he had made a pact with Yonatan. We know this because we learned it. We're going to look it up in a moment. But the idea that he had a pact with Yonatan, and that the pact with Yonatan was such that he would help him. And they made a covenant with each other. And even though he made an announcement, well, anyone from the house of Shaul, they put up, want ads, but they looked certainly maybe like wanted posters. But right, we're seeking anyone who's left from the house of Shaul. He's thinking, well, I don't know, and there's good reason for this fear and concern based on how things played out then and play out sometimes, God forbid now, the royal families and the like. Questions?
But was David's friendship with Yonatan so secret that
No, but times change.
Was he still married to
Michal?
Michal at this time?
Yeah.
Or is she dead?
No, he's
Did he
married.
divorce
Seems
her?
to be married. No, he didn't divorce. He was married
did
to
they
her.
not hear the
Did he
eulogy?
want?
They heard the eulogy, but
I don't understand.
the eulogy can be, how can you say? But Brutus was an honorable man.
Oh,
No,
but
Caesar wasn't on.
Caesar was honorable. I said Brutus. Well, later on it's Brutus, actually, later on. In the end, it doesn't be Brutus. Pardon?
I said it was more heartfelt sounding than that.
I think so.
Yeah,
You
because
think
of the
so,
cousin.
but you're not from the house. We're not from the house of Shaul.
He let the murderer go free in a sense. I mean, he rebuked him. but
Maybe.
he didn't kick him
Maybe.
out
Well,
of
we'll
the
see.
court.
We'll see. We'll see.
Okay,
Tamar,
I
please.
will accept-
Well, let's wait.
I
Let's
will
wait.
accept.
Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what happens. Please go ahead.
Maybe this is cynical, but I don't exactly see it as an act of chesed because he clearly says, "Ba'avur," his
Right,
friendship
yeah.
with God. In other words, the implication is the chesed wouldn't have been there but for his friendship, his love of Yehonatan.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you could read it that way, certainly. And let's say that is the case, though. He's still doing chesed for someone.
Yeah.
Someone who potentially could be not just a rival, but someone who potentially could be someone who wants to usurp the throne, or of course would say it as reclaim the throne for his father's honor, his grandfather's honor. And he's the grandson of Shaul HaMelech. He's from the royal line. Helen,
I'm totally
please.
confused. Where does Kish come from? Who's the father of Kish? And how is he connected now?
Well, Shaul is the son of Kish. And this
So why-
Shaul's son, Yonatan has a son in Mephibosheth.
So how come he doesn't know about Kish?
He's not alive anymore. He's dead.
Oh, okay.
So so he's looking, is there anybody now who's still alive? Now,
Yonatan took himself out of the running for
Yonatan did.
Yes, so you would think his kids.
Why?
Okay, all
His
right.
kids, maybe his kids came back. But the point is, obviously, and a little bit to Tamar's point also, let's say he wasn't doing it because he had so much love for Mephibosheth. He doesn't know Mephibosheth. We're going to find out now he doesn't know him at all. But let's say he felt he owed a favor to a long dead best friend, but it's still his friend. And he still wants to perpetuate the legacy. And he made a promise. We learn about his fidelity to promises. David's fidelity to promises. He made a promise to his friend. We're going to go back and see that inside a few minutes. The idea that he's obviously secure enough that he's not worried anymore that inviting him in is going to cause what they say in Halal, Choser v'neyor, to a return of a reawakening of the old issues. That hatchet has been buried and it's going to stay buried, we think. And we'll see now how it plays out. We have to see, how did Mephibosheth come onto the scene and where was he and when was he? It's back in chapter 4. It's a reminder ourselves because when we read it then, we really just, oh, you had a son and, but just when you hear the story, yeah, page 370, let's look at it together. Page 370, right? Avner gets killed. The scene that we're talking about here, what happened is the top of page 370. The son of Shaul hears that Avner died in Hebron, and his hands become weakened, and the whole Jewish people are very afraid. Then it just mentions that there are people who are from the house of Shaul. We learn their names and about them. We're going to hear something about this foreshadowing that their names are mentioned here. They'll be mentioned in the story in a moment. But just to pause here, notice that the hands of the family of the house of Shaul have been weakened. The hands that do things, hands that are involved in the world. And now when we get to Pasuk Daled, we learn about legs. Uv'liyehonatan ben Shaul nechei raglayim. Ben chamesh shanim haya, bevo shimuat Shaul v'Yonatan miYisrael. Vatisa ehu o manto, vatanos. Vayihi bechofzoh lanus, vayipol, vayipaseach, ushmo mefivoshet. Yonatan has a son who is handicapped. He doesn't walk. He's nechei raglayim. He was 5 years old when the word came that the royal house, king and crown prince alike, had been killed in the Jezreel Valley. His au pair, his nanny, his governess, grabbed him and ran. But she was so petrified, terrified, when she did, she fell, or dropped him, or threw him, or whatever it is, and he became lame as a result. So in other words, he wasn't born with a congenital issue. It was a result of the story of what happened to his father and his grandfather. In the Bahala, to save him, an injury occurred. In other words, to say it differently, he lives against the backdrop of the loss of his father and grandfather. It affected the way he walked or didn't walk. Now, what happens next? Karen, you can't give away the story. Wait.
See, we're back to those horses from last week that got moved.
Okay, fine, maybe. But missing legs, certainly in antiquity. Let's talk about the 20th century, the turn of the 20th century, about someone who was lionized by America.
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt, right? Right? From going down to Georgia to convalesce and to work on himself, right? But in his day, halacha b'yadua, as you might say, you do not take a picture of the president with his crutches, and you don't take a picture of the president in his wheelchair, right? The Waldorf Astoria has an underground secret entrance so the president can come in on the underground train so that no one will see him, right? Everyone knows this.
You say the turn of the 20th century.
Well, that's when he was born. He was born 1898 or something. Yeah, but I'm saying in that time it was, and then into the 30s. I'm saying I meant FDR. I think 1898 is when he was born. I think so. I think that's his birthday. I don't exactly remember. I might be wrong about that. I'm Canadian. Did I ever tell you that? So I just read some books. But the point is, he had a physical issue. He had something that made him it made an extra struggle. He overcame it. But it was, even then, up to the 30s and until he dies in the early 40s, he is not to be shown with the image of not being able to walk properly or at all, right? So just think about what that means. So, ala chad kama v'kama in antiquity, a man who doesn't walk is unlikely to become the king. Very unlikely to become the king. And it keeps telling us but how did he become that? He was we could say it like this, he was handicapped by the fact that his father and grandfather died. Verse 5 on page 370. We're just reviewing the same two who we mentioned earlier about these two people, these two soldiers. They came to the house of Ishboshet when he's taking a nap in the middle of the day. A siesta, it's very nice. He's sleeping. He's lying in bed, means he's not using his legs, by the way. But that's neither here nor there. The two brothers come in, and they pretended that they're coming in to get some wheat, and they kill the king. Well, not really the king. The person named Ishboshet, who's the son of Shaul, who many people may think is still going to become the king. Many people like Yoav ben Tzeruya, many people, right? Probably many people in the nation as well. Remember, David's trying to quell the hotheads who want to go to war. There was already a skirmish in Giv'on between the soldiers of Ishboshet and the soldiers of David. Yoav and Avner squared off. There were losses on the side of Ishboshet. Now Avner changed sides because of a personal tiff that he had with Ishbosheth, and the fact he's much stronger than Ishbosheth politically and as a person, etc. He goes to work for David. Yoav does not accept. Yoav thinks that he has come as some kind of Trojan horse, and so he kills Avner ben Ner, and David has that display, the aforementioned one, of, I believe, genuine grief at the funeral. But that doesn't mean everyone thought of it that way. Now, Ishbosheth's hands have become weakened. Now, Mephibosheth, who doesn't have legs. One doesn't have hands and one doesn't have legs. You see? And what happens? He gets killed. They take off his head. They kill Ishbosheth and actually decapitate him. We've decided he is your enemy. We bring you his head. He sought your soul. It's not true. None of that's true. Now you have gotten your vengeance. Thanks to God, really we did it. We're the assassins from Shaul and from his children. Vayan David et Rechav et Ba'ana Achiv b'nei Rimon ha'be'eroti vayomer lahem Chai Hashem asher padat nafsi mikol tzara, by the life of God who has he takes an oath basically, who has redeemed my soul from all trial. Ki amagid li lemor hine meit Shaul v'hu haya ki mevaser ve'inav va'ochazoa vo va'ehergehu b'tziklag asher titiyu lo b'sorah. The one who brought me the news somewhat triumphantly about the death of Shaul, I killed him in Siklag. That was the Ger Amaleki. And so too here, it's wicked people, meaning the two of you, killed a man who is righteous in his house upon his bed. I will seek his blood from your hands. I will wipe you out from the land. And so he commands his lads, doesn't literally mean teenagers, it means his underlings, people who work for him, and they kill those two. And what do they do to them? They bury Ishbosheth's head in the kever with Avner in Hebron. And in fact, here the cutting off of the hands and the legs of these people as a symbol. Very, very, again, my lights were very gruesome and the like, but the point is, just that it gets the back to, if the one had weak hands, the other one didn't have legs, and these people thought, well, we have arms and legs and we're going to go up against them. David has to keep making signs to people, this is not my way, this is not what we should be doing, we should be restrained, we should make peace, etc. I will point out, also, by the by, just from perspective of Sfarim and the like, it's two brothers who commit this act of murder. Two brothers who get along, two brothers who are together in a conspiracy, and not always is the two brothers a good thing. Think of Shimon Levi, think of these two brothers, and note that these two brothers commit an act of violence. There's going to be this contrast. You have the great friendship, David and Yonatan, also a dyad, where they don't go up against each other. The idea that the blood, avakeshet damo miyadchem, the notion of the two brothers as such. I'm going to come back to this. I'll show you what I mean. I know it's a little amorphous, like, okay, so two brothers, big deal. But hold the thought. I'm going to come back to it in a couple minutes. We get to a few more sources. Comments and questions before I go forward. Laura, please.
In Pasuk Aleph, when it says Vayishma ben Shaul, who's the ben Shaul?
Ishbosheth.
That's Ishbosheth.
Yeah. The point is, he's so amorphous, and not amorphous. There's such an element of transience, almost anonymity to him, that he's the ben Shaul.
Okay, so he's still alive.
He's being erased.
After Ishbosheth is killed, Ishbosheth is still alive.
No. Opposite. After Ishbosheth is killed, Ishbosheth is the son of Shaul. His nephew, Mephibosheth, son of Yehonatan, is still alive. Mephibosheth is squirreled away. See, look at verse 4 on this page 370. Verse 4, Pasuk Daled. Ushmo Mephibosheth. He's the one who the au pair, the governess, whatever it is, takes him away. But Ishbosheth is the ben Shaul who hears that Avner has died in Hebron.
Yeah. So,
and Ishbosheth's the one who gets killed in his bed.
Do we hear him?
Mephibosheth's the one who gets killed.
No, Mephibosheth is in our story today. No. There's two people with similar names, and we talked about how they might not have been even their real names, but Boshet means ashamed. right?
Man of shame.
Man of shame,
Oh,
Ish Boshet,
Pasuk.
or Ish Mifi Boshet from the mouth of the shamed one, something like that.
So
We're not sure, but
Okay, right. In Pasuk Hay, it says that they came into the house of Ishboshet. So why do they put that in between the Mephibosheth story, right in between the Ishboshet story and the Ishboshet story?
because the point is, because the Navi is a good question. The Navi wants us to know that even though we're in the midst of the story of Ish Boshet, there was someone else who actually could have also inherited the throne. Who's that? The remaining descendant at this point of Yehonatan. And why is that necessary for us to know? Because we're about to learn that the only remaining son of Shaul, Ishboshet, is going to get killed.
We want to know that, but it could have easily come at the end of that parak instead of in the middle of the parak. Like at the end of the Ishboshet story, we could have heard of Mephibosheth, that he's still alive. Like it's strange that it's right there.
Point well taken.
It is
I thought of it. I mean, again, yeah, I guess it could have been at the end. Why is it in the top, not in the bottom? Not entirely sure. To me, the contrast of the Vayirpu Yadav, the hands of Ishboshet are weakened, the story of how Mephibosheth doesn't have legs, the story then of Ishboshet lying on his bed, it wasn't just a throwaway line, means he is not walking at that time and he's passive and prone and vulnerable, and the idea that he's sleeping in the middle of the day. Maybe everyone took a siesta, I don't know, maybe, but it seems like, what are you rearranging the deck chairs now while the ship is sinking? Maybe it's that. I don't know which one it is. Whatever it is, the two people who are meant to be among his soldiers are conspirators to kill him, and with the righteous indignation of some sort, or some kind of moralizing, they come to David and say, "We did your dirty work, sire." And but I didn't want you to do that. It's not dirty work, because how dare you do that to the house of Shaul? And what does he do to them? Cuts off their hands and their feet. So it's sort of like hands, feet, and hands, feet. I think it is related, Davka. But the point that at the beginning of our parak, now back to parak Tet, I'll take a few more questions in a second, but he's asking, is anyone still left? It's not that he didn't know that in the family tree there wasn't someone named Mephibosheth, and he knows he ran away, but is he even still alive, or did he die somewhere? Who knows? Helen, please.
That Louis Gates has mesmerized me with roots and ancestry. So I'm so sorry to bother you again.
You're not bothering
But
me? No, it's funny.
what
He's
does
not.
Ishimini mean? Is it not the son of Shaul and just the tribe of Binyamin? How can I trace Kish back to Shaul?
But Kish is Shaul's
And who
father.
are his prodigies?
Shaul is Shaul ben Kish. Are you asking if there's no one left from the house of Shaul,
If there
how
any-
could there be a Mordechai? Is that what you're asking?
How could Mordechai be, through Kish, directly related to Shaul? What would be the succession? Or is it only he's only from the house of Binyamin?
No. He's from the house of Kish. We will see now what's going to happen with Mephibosheth. Let's keep going.
So
You want me to spoil it for you?
Are
We got to
there
keep
really
going.
others besides?
Yes, yeah.
That's my point.
The others, the answer is, I'm going to spoil it, so lay it to rest. The answer is, Mephibosheth will have children, and they will survive. Mephibosheth will have children, they will survive. And therefore the house of Kish and Shaul will endure. And that's when Mordechai and Esther come in. I mean, at least from one
See,
side
we
of the
don't
family.
know that when they kill him, we don't know.
I didn't want to give it away, but now I can. You forced my hand, Helen. Okay, so look at Pasuk Bet. Ulavei Shaul Eved. Look how he's introduced. The house of Shaul has a slave. Ushmo Tziva. Vayikru lo el David. So he's summoned to come to David. Vayomer Hamelech Elav Ha'atat Tziva. Are you this person? Vayomer Avdecha. I'm your servant. Deferential. Okay. Vayomer Hamelech Ha'efes od ish leveit Shaul. Is there anyone else left in the house of Shaul? Ve'aseh imo chesed Elokim. I want to do the kindness of Hashem, of God, with him. Vayomer tziva el hamelech od bein liyonatan nechei raglayim. There is one son left. He's the son of Yonatan, and he is handicapped. He is lame. Now, his name isn't mentioned. He's anonymous. And the first thing we want to learn about him, the most important salient fact, is that he could never be the king. And he's not really a challenge to you because he doesn't walk. It's right here, the way, right? Vayomer lahamelech, efohu. What are you playing 20 questions over here? Why do you think the king called Siva? To find out who it is and where he is. But instead, he has to ask, it's like he's pulling it out of him with question and question. Oh, he's found over in this place, in the house of Machir ben Amiel in a place called Lo Davar. Vayishlach HaMelech David, Vayikachem Beit Machir ben Amiel Milo Davar. And when you look at Pasuk Vav, you learn that he has a name and he has a lineage and he's being introduced that way. Vayavo Mefivoshet ben Yehonatan ben Shaul el David, Vayipol Apanav Vayishtachu, falls on his face and he bows down. Right? Now, why does he bow down? Well, it falls down on his face and bows down from his chair or from his whatever, whatever it is. Vayomer David Mefivoshet Vayomer Hinei Avdecha. David just calls his name and he says, "Behold, I am your servant." Now we're going to see the dialogue between them in a minute. I have to pause here. Look at the Alshich with me, page 1 in the sources. Let's see it inside. Vayomer David, Milvad Smichut. Aside from the fact that chapter 9 comes right after chapter 8, and the names of the keep on the cabinet, we bring it in. Ra'ui lasim leiv el milat hachi. The question was asked as hachi yesh od asher. That's verse 1. Hachi yesh od asher notar. What is this word hachi? Shehiyatera. It's extraneous. Acharei omro, after it said Vahi David oseh mishpat utzdaka l'chol amo, amar hachi, not is it shu kach b'lashon arami, but rather hachi. In the Gemara, we have a lot of Aramaic. It was one of the languages, of course, of antiquity, and at times Aramit, if it's not called Lashon HaKodesh, it's not the holy language of that we call Ivrit, but Aramit does have some kind of standing. How do we know? It appears in the Torah in several places. Aramaic words at some points are folded in. So it says the Alshech, Aramaic words are sometimes folded into the Navi as well. It's a beautiful idea he has here. I'm not sure it's the pshat, but he says it wasn't a question that David was asking, Hachi, is there? But rather he was saying, Hachi, which in Aramaic means like this, meaning I'm pointing to something. What is he pointing to? Amar Hachi, Shu Kach, Kach, like this, B'lashon Arami, Lomar Kach, to say as follows, Klomar, Ka'ela Shani, Oset Tzedaka Itam. Here will be an example, David says, of the words that perhaps someone will someday write about me, that I do acts of tzedakah and mishpat. So, Vayomer David. So David said, Hachi, like this. This will be a demonstration of the beautiful, nice words that are said about me, that I'm supposedly a person involved in tzedakah and mishpat. Let this be an example of that. What's that? Not a question, but a statement. There is, for sure, someone still left from the house. I will find him and do with them chesed. All right? So back in the source of Yisrael, not just generally with the nation Israel. Kim gam al ben melech bnei Amon ratzalig mol chesed. We'll see it in chapter 10. Kasher yavo acharei zot. It's going to be chapter 10. Asher hayu lefanav lo yadu davar. And that which was before him, they didn't know anything about this. Meaning, we'll see what happens in chapter 10. But this is what I said at the beginning of this year. It's really from the Alshach. Chapter 9 and chapter 10 are two examples of the expression of David's chesed. So a general statement about a man of tzedakah and mishpat for his whole nation. He's the head of the Sanhedrin, he's the head of the army, he does righteousness. The Gemara in Brachot describes he's running the economy, that he's parceling out food to poor people, right? He's about tzedakah, beautiful descriptions. But here are two examples. Chapter 9, he even did chesed with someone who naturally he should have wanted to ignore. And in chapter 10, it's going to be, here's one of the surrounding nations who he didn't owe ice in winter, but he brought it to them because he thought magnanimity is a much better course of action now than cold peace or something like that. And he's going to send a delegation, we'll get to that, for a Shiva visit, basically, to the nation of Ammon. Spoiler alert, it doesn't go well. But he tries, and the point is, chesed here, and it's going to be in chapter 10 also, chesed. Actually, if you want to look now, page 375, at the bottom of the page, chapter 10, verse 2, it actually, just the first words there, Vayomer David Aseh Chesed. See? Please.
Okay, now Abraham is all chesed, genuinely all chesed. Never was, I gotta send away Ishmael, all of this. Okay, David, it seems like this is more a state policy as opposed to
Okay.
an innate
Yeah, fine.
trait. I'm supposed to have this kingdom that's based on these God's laws, and one
Fine.
of the God's laws is Tzedek v'Mishpat. So I'm going to do it, but it doesn't appear, he's more Gevurah, he's not Chesed.
Maybe he's an amalgam of Chesed and Gvura. Maybe what he has that Avram Avinu doesn't have is a kingdom, and therefore can give expression through political means in a positive vein to something. Why do we have to be cynical about it? Rabbi Liebtach's whole point was these words are exactly the same words as it stuck on Mishpat of Avram Avinu in Parshat Vayera that we're going to be reading, God willing, about in a couple of days.
I have to disagree with that, and I think you're bringing it out so clearly.
Very
in
kind.
this
Okay.
class has the same effect as what you did with Shaul.
To
When
see
we
Shaul in a
were-
more nuanced
Exactly.
way, in a more positive way.
Exactly, because honestly, I viewed Shaul totally differently. Now,
Before.
I believe this chesed about David to begin
Yeah.
with, but I know a lot of people don't, and I
Navi testifies to it.
I totally commend you
One second, give me a
for
second.
bringing
Right, thank you.
this out.
Thank you. Okay, there are differing ways to see it. Personally, I think it's taken on face value that David actually did these kindnesses. He did good things. And remember what I'm saying right now, because it'll come back shortly, not this week, not next week, but the week after. Chesed means reaching beyond oneself. And not just being about oneself, reaching beyond oneself. That's what it means. That's what chesed is. Please.
I guess this point's got a lot of different ways of looking. The way I was thinking about it is this an example of doing the right things for the wrong reasons? Because if it says his motivation was not because chesed is a mitzvah, but his motivation was so that he would be recognized as narcissistic.
Where does it say be recognized?
Well, maybe in the English translation, it's not what it says in the.
Well, translations are always interpretations. That is not communicated to me by the Hebrew text at all. At all. No, au contraire. He owes this man nothing. He gains no political points by taking care of him, and he would be much easier to dispatch him to death.
It says he's going to do it so that it will be an example of how he's remembered.
Yeah, you said that.
It describes that as the motivation of why he's doing it.
Where?
You said that.
That he's doing it for the sake of his legacy?
You.
Yeah.
No. But my point was, I was being anachronistic. David doesn't know what's going to be written in the Sefer Shmuel. It's not written by him. It's not finalized in his lifetime. Nevi'im are writing it after he died. Part of it's written by Shmuel, remember? Part of it's written by Natan HaNavi. Part of it's written by Gad HaNavi. David doesn't get to write his own press. He doesn't write his own book. The point I was making is that the narration of Sefer Shmuel Bet in chapter 8, verse 15, that Rabbi Liebtach spent over an hour talking about, was the point that the Navi wants us to know as a matter of fact, a matter of record. Whose record? The divine record. That's what it really means, is that David was a person who carried out acts of mishpat and staka, and that he was genuine. I just keep pointing out that there would be cause for people to be cynical. There would be cause for hotheads to want to fan the flames, to want to declare victory and stomp on the head of the enemy. But David's point is, this is not the enemy. We have enemies. This is not the enemy. And therefore, and you're going to see with Tziva has his own, Tziva will be proven to be a scurrilous person. We're going to see it in later chapters. We're going to see that this is the setup for what's going to happen when the chips are down for David, what Tziva will be doing versus what Mephibosheth will be doing, which will be different. And what David will do with Mephibosheth when the specter of him losing his hold on the kingdom seems to be teetering, notwithstanding all the divine promises. He's getting very nervous, but yet what happens with Mephibosheth there? So I disagree completely with the characterization that this is cynical or it's about David manipulating things, that was some kind of thing for show. He didn't publicize what he was doing. We happen to have the record because the divine record tells us he did chesed. And my point was just to say that David, that the Alshich is saying that David says, Hachi. Since is what I'm trying to do. So, Hachi, this is going to be an attempt to do that. By the by, the Alshich is very nice. I don't think it's the pshat. I really don't think that there's an Aramaic word written here when the rest of the pasuk is phrased as a question. It seems to be really a question. So you have to ask, okay, why is that word there? It's idiomatic. That's how David speaks. Hachi yesh od asher no talaveit Shaul, question mark. If I find him, I'll do with him chesed b'avur Yonatan. Now you want to ask about b'avur Yonatan, not for its own sake, but for Yonatan. So again, you could spin that as, well, he doesn't really want to do anything nice, but he has to because he made a pact with his friend. He doesn't want to break his word. Okay, so it's laudable that he's a truthful person. I don't think it's just that.
He may have been, David was a very complex person. We all are. He may have done many acts of chesed, but I think there's an argument to be made from his own words that this wasn't one of them.
Okay, well, let's see. Let's go back to the Al-Shech Amat. The paragraph starts with the word lachein. Second paragraph in the Al-Shech. Lachein. Ulabeit Shaul Evru Shmo Tziva. Karulo et Tziva ki hu yada. Because he knew where this surviving family member might be. V'az amar lo, ha'efes od yesh ish leveit Shaul. Klomar, shesha'alti ve'in magidli. I've been asking, David's basically saying to Tziva, no one wants to tell me. V'alkena amar lo ha'efes. Ha'efes doesn't mean the word zero. Zero is not invented yet in those days, even though in modern Hebrew, efes means that, right? Efes means none other. Like efes zulato. So it's, is there any other man, right? So v'alkena amar lo ha'efes. Ulaval yastir amar lo al tira ki le tovato ani shoel. And so that he will not hide the truth from him, David basically says to Tziva, I'm asking for his benefit. Kedei she'e'eseh imo, there's an extra vav there, kedei she, quote, ve'eseh imo chesed elokim, end quote. Klomar, chesed ra'ui la'asoto b'din. A chesed that he's actually owed, that's what chesed elokim, Elokim is the name of God that reflects din, judgment, justice, rules, standards. Kilomar, chesed ra'ui la'asoto b'din. It's a chesed, but that one that he is deserving of by rights. Shehu l'shalem gimul Yonatan ohavi. It's in order to pay a recompense to Yonatan, my beloved one. Yonatan, my beloved one, who died, but whose legacy endures. And you see here, I in my read, again, reasonable people can disagree, you see David's sense of affection and love for his beloved friend who is no longer in the world, but he knows he has to still uphold his commitments to him even posthumously. As opposed to saying he's dead and buried, literally, and therefore the commitment is dead and buried, it's null and void, and therefore I'd love to be nice to Mephibosheth, but politics, what can you do? But he doesn't do that. He actually keeps his word. That's my contention. V'zeu omro Elokim shehudin ki omro lamala ba'avur Yehonatan. He realizes it's a chesed, but it's also a chesed that has to do an element of din because I gave my word. Or yomar chesed Elokim, or maybe. And then also was playing with it. Chesed means she'ez a chesed shel emet bli tikvat tigmul. What can Mephibosheth do for him? Nothing. He can only be a problem and a burden. There's nothing else he could be. But he did it anyway. V'lo chesed anashim osim al tigmul. He didn't do it to get something back. Upirshu rabotenu zal. The sages say when we rishat tziva, and this has to do with this opening line of communication or conversation rather between David and Tziva. Lays bare Tziva's wickedness. Now his real wickedness is going to be apparent later. But now Tziva has wickedness already in the first line, according to Chazal. Shamar shayam Mephibosheth chaser Torah. That he told David he's empty of Torah. V'zeu bilo davar. V'kasher lakho David matzo melo davar shu malei Torah.
But it's not Aleph.
Pardon? Yeah, he has no words in him. Now, again, this is right. This is a good example of medrash. It's not the literal rendering. The word lo is read as lamed aleph or lamed vav. One means lo means to him, right? And yesh lo, he has, right? Or ein lo, he has not. But lo, just the sound of it, it's an alliterative right play on words, a homonym, that's the word I was looking for. The homonym of lo is lo. And what is lo? Lamed aleph, no. So Chazal read into the fact that when you look at the text of the Navi, you see in the text of the Navi that Tziva says that Mephibosheth, who by the way he has nothing to do with Mephibosheth, he tells him so. Where is he located? He's located in Lo Davar, but he tells him he is below Davar. Verse 4, the first two words in the line here, Pasuk Dalet, first two words on the line, the end of Pasuk Dalet, he is below Davar. So Melech David calls him, and where are you taking from? Milo davar. Okay, you understand? Literally, if you look in the Mikra, it's the same word, even spelled the same way twice. But says the Gemara, at least according to Rav, Shmuel disagrees. So if you don't like this drasha, you can just go with Shmuel, who disagrees. I didn't give you Shmuel, I just gave you Rav here. Rav and Shmuel were always Bari Plukta, they always had arguments. So Rav Amar, Kibel David Lashon Hara. David accepted Lashon Hara. Where? Vayomer lo hamelech eifahu, vayomer tziva el hamelech, hinehu beit machir ben Amiel, below davar. The way the Gemara spells it, not as we have it in the Masoretic text, is lamed aleph, nothing. Then it says, vayishlach hamelech vikachem beit machir ben Amiel, milo davar. Again, Masorah Shas tells you in the Gemara, no, you have to match what it really says, right? And you could see, what does this mean? If you could read the English for yourself, turn to page 2. Rashi, Dibra Matcha Bilo Davar, Eino Chacham B'Torah. He has nothing, no davar in it, no divrei Torah in him. He's empty, right? Uvehu Matzo Milo Davar means Milo Davar Mem Lamed Aleph can mean also Malay, like Milo Chol Haaretz Kivodo. Milo Chol Haaretz Kivodo is spelled Mem Lamed Aleph. Doesn't mean lo, no. It means Malay, filled. Right? So Milo Davar. From Malay Davar Chacham B'Torah. It's a small thing. By the way, if you took it on its own terms and you didn't see any further stories about Siva and Mephibosheth and David, you would say, you could maybe roll your eyes or something, I don't know. But the point here, and Chazal do this often, they show us the subtlety of the foreshadowing of the wickedness that is soon going to make itself apparent. There are umpteen examples of this where someone's name comes up and Chazal will say, ooh, the name already tells us they're not going to be good. It's not because when they were born they got a name and too bad for them, they're just going to be wicked people. It's that the way they prove themselves to be, we kind of want to understand, well, how did they go off the rails? We're almost looking for a sign that, wow, in retrospect, yeah, we kind of saw a little subtlety of this coming. The lights of the train were distant and looked like a little pinpoint, but we saw it coming. So that's a little bit, I think, what's going on over here as well. It's like a hint. He has no Torah in him. Who's talking about Torah? They're talking about should he come to the table or not. But the point of Chazal is he added a little dig against him. Is it a play on words? It is. Is it the pshat? It is not the pshat. But that's okay. That's okay. Chazal are not doing pshat all the time. Oftentimes they're doing medrash, and it has its utility as well. Okay. You want another good example? The names of the 10 spies who go bad. The Gemara in Sota tells you how each one of their names is really a name that bespeaks wickedness. And it when you read it, you're like, seriously? So if Moshe Rabbeinu read that into their names, why did he send the wicked people? Right? Moshe didn't know that drasha. Moshe didn't know the drasha. Moshe knew the whole Torah. So.
See, and Caleb, his dog.
Exactly. The Torah, the Gemara mysteriously leaves out that the name Kalev could have very easily been read in a very negative way as Kalev, but doesn't do that. Why not? Kalev. It doesn't say this drasha, but if I want it to be, make it my drasha, Kalev, he's like the heart of the Jewish people. But it's not the pshat. It's not trying to be the pshat. You have to understand. I always see these people getting hot into the car. It's not the pshat. I know it's not the pshat. Chazal knew it wasn't the pshat. Chazal knew it wasn't the pshat. They caught off guard. What do you mean? They knew? Yeah, they knew. Yeah. And that's what's going on here, I think. Now, look up with me to the actual promise. We have to see the actual promise to understand what happens, please. Okay. Oh, no, before we get to the promise, we got to learn more of the psukim. Sorry. Don't turn anywhere. We're on 375. We'll pick it up in a moment. Okay. On Pasuk Zion. Please, Helen, go.
Okay. The word tzedakah means the right thing to do, not charity.
Yeah. The right thing to do can be charity.
Right. So it says, Chatosi negdi tamid tilim, David says about himself.
We'll get there.
So in psychiatry, it's not a matter whether you're a good person or weak. It's the right thing to do. So when you have some quality of sinfulness or going off the wrong way, you come to an achrayus on a will that this is the right thing to do. When he says chatosi negdi tomi, he's always reminded that he has to straighten the act out.
Okay, we'll have to we'll come back and quote that to me, God willing, in a few weeks when we get to chapter 11, 12, 13, 14, all the way to 20. But you're onto something for sure. Pasuk Zion. Mephibosheth says bow down to the extent that he can bow down in front of David. And now, Vayomer lo David al tira. Ki aso e'aseh imcha chesed ba'avur Yehonatan avicha v'ashivoti lecha et kol sidei Shaul avicha ve'ata tochal lechem al shulchani tamid. So a few important points. One, don't be afraid. I'm going to do chesed with you because of your father. Meaning, now I read it as, even if I wasn't doing it for the most righteous of reasons, even if I'm trying to keep you close because you're an enemy, I want you to know I owe your father. Now, by the way, I made a commitment to him, and I'm going to keep my word. I'm a person who keeps my word. I'm not duplicitous, and that in itself I think is a moral value. But by the by, I take him at his word. He's going to do chesed with him. What's the first chesed? I'm going to give you back all of the fields of Shaul, your father. It means his grandfather, but it means the house of Shaul. Who was in charge of the fields of Shaul all this time that Mephibosheth is not? Do you know who was in charge? Siva. One fine day, the master and his son and the whole royal family disappeared. And Siva, the Eved, got to inherit everything. He took over. The Eved is running the house of the master, and the master's own grandchild lives where? Some other place. You understand? We start seeing the picture. I'm going to give you back all the fields. I'll show you why this is apparent in a moment. And you will eat bread at my table for always. Vayishtachu, he bows down again. Vayomer me'avdecha. What is your servant? Kifanita el akelev hamet asher kamoni. You want to go back to psychiatry? Talk about a damaged self-concept. Say, I'm like a dead dog. By the way, David referred to himself that exact way one time when he was trying to get Shaul to explain to him, why do you hate me so much? It's in Shmuel Aleph. At one point, David, at a safe distance, says to Shaul, I'm a dead dog. What do you need from me? There's the same expression now that Mephibosheth is using to David. Vayikra melech el tziva, nar Shaul. Look how he's mentioned. Vayomer elav, kol asher haya Shaul ulechol beito natati leven adonecha. I'm giving everything over to the son of your master. Va'avadata lo et adama ata uvanecha va'avadecha. You understand it's strange? The slave has slaves, but now you're going to have to work the land, you and your children and your servants. Ve'eveta va'aya leven adonecha lechem va'achalo. You're going to make the bread and bake the bread and bring the bread to your master. Who's that? The son of your master. Mephibosheth ben adonecha yochal tamid lechem al shulchani. And the Mephibosheth, the son of your master, will always eat bread from my table. Does it mean literally, or does it mean he will be getting a salary as part of the cabinet? Does it mean you're going to bake the bread, but I'm commanding you to? Uletziva chamishasa banim ve'esrim avadim. Tziva is not an individual with no resources. He's got a big family. His banim means he has successors. And he has an estate. He has 20 servants of his own. Vayomer tziva el hamelech kecho asher yitzaveh Adoni hamelech et avdo kein ya'aseh avdecha u'mefivoshet ochel al shulchani ki achad mibnei hamelech. Nobody knows what that sentence means, by the way. And nobody has a clue what that sentence means, because the sentence is, Tziva says to the king, like everything that the king will command, everything that he will command here, so he will command everything that will be commanded by my master the king to his servant, meaning to me, Tziva, I will do as your servant. Mephibosheth eats at my table like one of the sons of the king. So according to Ramban, I gave it to you here actually on the page 2, in the middle of the page. I kind of skipped a little bit, but okay. The Ramban says, we don't have time to read it inside already, but we have 3 more points to make, that really this is David speaking. That David interjected, but the Navi leaves out that David said it back to Tziva, but rather he cut him off and just said, Mephibosheth will eat on my table like one of the sons of the king. Radak didn't agree. Radak, page 2, middle of the page. Mephibosheth ochel al shulchani, af al pi Mephibosheth ochel al shulchani, וכאחד מבני המלך, ולא יצטרך לכל הדבר הזה, אף על פי כן אעשה כמו שציוויתני לעבוד כל הנחל למפי-בושת ולבניו. So this first interpretation at least disagrees with the Ramban. The second interpretation is basically what the Ramban says as well. But the first one is, now Tziva says to the king, oh no, I'll do whatever you want, but Mephibosheth already eats at my table. He's like one of the sons of the king. Now what happened to all the other sons of the king? Yeah. They're dead. So even as he's trying to say it, I think in other terminology calls a Freudian slip. He said to the king, but he already eats on my table like all the other sons of the king. The king doesn't have any other sons, so what do you mean he eats on my table? And didn't this whole story start with Siva explaining to the king, oh, he's away, and he told him the coordinates where he is? He didn't say he's in my house because he eats at my table. So this is part, perhaps, of Tziva showing his true colors. Now, the Radak does go on to say, Yesh Mefarshim doesn't say that those last words were Divrei David, that David just interjected it. Take your pick, whichever one you like better. But now we learn, Pasuk Yud Bet, this is to Helen's point from before, Ulamefivoshet bein katan ushmo Micha, v'chomoshav beit Tziva avadim Mefiboshet. Right, so now Mephibosheth has a son. His name is Micha, with an aleph. And all of that which belongs to the house of Tziva now are the servants of Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth Yosef b'Yerushalayim. Now it tells us that apparently he moved to be in Yerushalayim. Ki al shulchan hamelech tamid hu ochel v'hu fiseach shtei raglav. So, and this is an odd ending of the parak, obviously, but it tells you actually Mephibosheth came to live apparently in Yerushalayim because he's always at the table of the king. He eats there. And he is a piseach, shtei raglav, and neither of his legs, he's lame in both legs, which is cryptic. That's the end of the parak. We have to turn back to Shmuel Aleph chapter 20, and it'll hopefully fill out the picture for us in the remaining 5-10 minutes over here. Look at page 350, 350. Things are falling apart between David and Shaul, to put it charitably. Shaul is trying to kill David. They come up to their monthly banquet. When do they get together? Rosh Chodesh. They have a beautiful meal every Rosh Chodesh. It's like a Hal B'Yontif, and they get together, have a meal. Vayomer David, verse 5, page 350, Parak Chaf, and Shmuel Aleph. Vayomer David El Yehonatan, Hinei Chodesh Machar, Vanochi Yashov Eshev Ima Melech Le'achol, V'shilach Tani, V'nistarti, V'sadeh Ada Erev Ashlishit. Basically, right, I'm expected to come, to sit with the king. It's not going to work right now. He's already tried to kill me a few times. I'm going to go hide. Im pakod yifkedeni avicha va'amarta nishol nishal mimeni David larutz beit lachem iro ki zevach hayamim sham l'chol mishpacha. That's the cover story. Tell him I went home. Ki im ko yomar tov shalom la'avdecha. He says, okay, fine. Let him have peace, but that's fine. V'im charo yechareh lo. But if he gets angry, da ki chalta ra'ame imo. You should know that bad things. Vasita chesed, says David to Yonatan, al avdecha, ki vivrit Hashem heveta et avdecha imach, v'im yesh bi avon hamiteni ata, v'ad avicha, lama ze tivi'eni. Right? Don't bring me to your father to kill me. If you think I've done wrong, then please kill me now. David to Yehonatan. And David to Yehonatan, please do a chesed, do a kindness for me. What does Yonatan say? Vayomer Yonatan, chalilalach. No, God forbid. Ki im yadoa eda ki chalta ra'ami imavi lavo alecha v'lo ota agid lach. You think my father really wants to, if I knew for sure your father wants to kill you, you think I would put you in harm's way? No. Yonatan, mi yagidli omaya ancha avicha kasha. How am I going to find out? Basically, Yonatan David, l'chaven eitzei hasadeh, v'itzu shneim hasadeh. The two of them go out to the field. I can't prove it, but the last time, in my mind's eye, two people went out to the field together is Cain and Hevel. Two brothers went out to the field. Vayibi otam basadeh. And here it's David and Yonatan making a tikkun for Cain and Hevel. They go out to the field. And they go out to the field, but it's a place of covenant and the place of expressions of amity between the two of them and a sense of a bond between them that will be a bond that transcends even the death of one of them to go to the other world. The one that remains will remain committed to the bonds of fraternity that he'll have toward his dear brother, who's not really his brother, David and Yonatan, but Cain and Hevel, they couldn't make a go of it. Jared, please.
It goes by Yomer. That's what happens when they go out to the field.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And I was just going to say that David is not known for his wonderful interpersonal relationships.
Depending.
For the
Here he
most
is.
part. That's my point.
Yeah.
That Yonatan was the one in his life that he really had a consistently good relationship.
Yeah, inachinami. Agreed.
Yeah.
Now look, V'yomer Yonatan al David. Hashem l'kei Yisrael. Ki echkor David. Ka'et machar shlishit v'inei tov el David v'lo az eshlach elecha v'galiti et osnecha. I'll go find out. You stay here, etc. Basically what he says. And he's taking an oath. Ko ya'aseh Hashem li'Yonatan. This is what Hashem should do to Yonatan. V'cho Yosif. Ki yetiv el avi el hara'a lecha v'galiti et osnecha v'shilachticha v'alachta l'shalom v'hi Hashem imach kasher ya'im avi. I mean, those last few words, God should be with you like he was with my father. He's basically Yonatan saying to David, I hope you become the king.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out, but if it's true, it's true. V'im lo, v'lo im odeni chai, v'lo tasei madi chatzed Hashem, v'lo amut. Now, what is that last piece there? Wait a second. What does that say? And at least while I'm alive still, will you not do kindness with me so that I will not die? Tetvav, verse 15. Says David, you will not cut off your kindness to my household ad olam, for all time. V'lo behachrit Hashem et oivei David, and not even when God cuts off the enemies of David. Ish me'al pnei adama, the people from the face of the earth. Again, they're also with the Adama and Cain and Hevel, by the way. But Vayichrot Yonatan im Beit David. Wait. When we read this originally, maybe we didn't pay attention, but now it's impossible not to pay attention. David made a covenant with the house of David, which begs the question, what house of David? It's just David. But when you read it against the backdrop of this, you understand that what the Navi writes up over here is that Yonatan and David didn't make a covenant, just Yonatan and David. Yonatan and the house of David made a covenant. Uvikesh Hashem miyarovei David. Vayosef Yonatan hashpia David ba'avoto ki avat nafsho ahevo. He loved him by the love of his soul. So what do we see here in this section? And it keeps going, and you can keep reading other examples where Yonatan is saying to David to Yonatan, right? He's going to save him, he's going to take care of him, right? And the idea that there is great chesed between them. Maybe David learned something about chesed from Yonatan. And maybe now it's not ba'avur Yonatan because I owe Yonatan, but on account of the legacy of Yonatan, which is a legacy of chesed. And where is the protection going to come? At mealtime. Exactly when David cannot go to the meal with Shaul, David will fix it by having the grandson of Shaul come to his table. And you know how many times David will try to kill Mephibosheth? 0. He will welcome him as a ben bayit. And that is a major tikkun. Last thing, and it is, I will tell you in advance, rather controversial, but I think it is such a brilliant idea, not that he needs my approbation. Benjamin Ettlinger and Binyan Sion here, and we'll learn it inside by doing the following. Turn with me in Shmuel Bet to chapter 5, when David and his people arrive in Yerushalayim. They're going to conquer it. Something strange happens here. Page 370. On the bottom of the page, the last pasuk 6, page 370. I'm in Shmuel Bet, Perek Hey, pasuk Vav. Vayelech hamelech vanashav Yerushalayim el hayevusi yoshev haaretz vayomel David lemor lo tavo hena ki im hasircha ha'ivrim va'apischim lemor lo yavo David hena. It's a bit weird, but that's what it says. He comes, verse 5, the bottom, page 370, the bottom line of the page, and onto the top of 371. Okay? David and his people come to Yerushalayim, to the Jebusites, the Yevusim, who dwell there, and they say to David, you will not come here unless you can remove the blind and the lame. Saying, David will not come here. Vayikod David mitzudat Zion, he ir David. Vayomer David bayom hahu, kol makei Yevusi v'yiga betzinor, v'rapischim v'ra'ivrim, sinuei nefesh David, and who will remove the blind and the lame, the lame and the blind, who are the hated ones of the soul of David. Al ken yomru. Therefore they say, iver upisech lo yavo labayit. Therefore we say that a blind and a lame will not come to the house. Vayesh David mitzudah v'yikra ir David, etc., etc. Now,
I thought that was supposed to be going back to Yitzchak.
yeah, so either it's, according to some of Mefarshei HaMikra, it refers to idols, and the Navi doesn't want to give credence to the idols, so it calls the idols the blind and the lame. It's derisive on the part of the Navi. Another interpretation is Yitzchak Avinu is the one who was blind, and Yaakov Avinu, after the story with his fight with Esav, is lame. So, of course, it begs the question, why only Yitzchak and Yaakov? What about something to represent Avraham or something? It's unclear. That was then, so I don't want to go back, open that up again, but just there are different representations of why it mentions blind and lame. Comes the Binyan Sion and he says, I'm having trouble figuring this out. We don't have time to read the whole thing inside, but he says, I'm really having a hard time understanding it. I actually want to read this according to the Pshat. And I gave you on page 2 to 3, I gave you basically the whole piece, but the blue highlighted portion says, V'lachein Allah b'da'at b'rayoni lefaresh psukim al pi psutam. I want to actually interpret these sections, these psukim, according to their pshat. And here's what he explains. I'm going to explain this to you Don't jump on me till I finish because it's far out, but a wild idea. But here's what it says. Apropos, something that's coming into focus for many of us in our lives. There's two kinds of sinna. There's a sinna that's sinnat halev. That's a sinna that a person could have for another person. Lo tisnat achicha b'vavecha, prohibition in the Torah, don't hate your fellow. There's another kind of sinna. The sinna is the revulsion of sinat hanefesh. It's the revulsion of the soul. It means, says the Binyan Sion, I would never say it if not, but look at the line in yellow, top of page 3, the first halal in yellow. Aval sinat nefesh, tikra hanitbat beteva. It's part of your nature. B'mi asher katsa nafsho bedavar, lo mipnei hitpa'alut hanaseh alav, ki mitzat atzmuto. You know what it is? It's what you and I would find disgusting. Something that we're revolted by. The foods that we inherently can't go near, or sights or situations that are repulsive to us. It's just part of our nature. We're squeamish, whatever it is. Here's what the Binyan Sion says. The Yevusim knew that David HaMelech, how did they know? I don't know, would be repulsed by having to be confronting people who were blind or people who were lame. Therefore, one of their lines of defense was they said, if David wants to come here, he'll have to get by our line of blind people and lame people.
Stick them in the front line.
So we put them in the front lines as a way of touching upon something that is repulsive to David, because we know him. Now, you'll ask me, well, how did they know that? I don't know, but that's what he claims. But let me finish. Don't jump on me. Hold on to listen to what he says. What he says is, therefore, that's why it goes on 3 times. It says, they said they didn't want, they let him get past the blind and the lame. Therefore, David told his people, remove the blind and the lame. And therefore, the third thing was, he told them, none of the blind or lame can come to my house. Now, enter Mephibosheth, says the Binyan Sion. You know what happened? That's why the parah keeps telling us again and again. You know what Mephibosheth, you know what his salient feature was? His salient feature was he was lame. And a person who has a personal sense of inherent revulsion or discomfort with being in the presence of someone who is lame, it will not be in greater focus for that person than at the time when they're sitting and eating a meal. That's particularly a time when it will be hard for them while they're trying to eat and just focus and just relax. They have to sit with someone who has shall we say, some kind of special needs, physical special needs. But doesn't right? So what did David do? The Binyan Sion says, therein lies the greatness of David. He not only was overcoming the political issues, but he was overcoming an aspect of himself, which is why it says, he will sit at my table. So great is my love for Yonatan, whatever my personal issues are, my phobias, I will confront them. That's what he writes. Gam David, Shina v'shileish lamar shemefiboshet yochal tamid lechem al shulchano. The highlighted portion at the end. Kanireh lohodia ki davar gadol diber bezeh baharot lo ahavato va'alo rabim hayu ochlei shulchano. Many people ate at his table. Va'al pi dvarenu yuvuar acharei ki katsa nefesh David bapischim. He doesn't want to have something that he considers repulsive in his presence at the time when he eats. Nonetheless, he put him in front of him all the time. I said it's far out.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to buy that David would have such a horrible
revulsion or inability to be in the presence of,
as opposed
right?
to chesed for, oh, look at the poor guy.
Fine.
You know.
And that is how we will end. Look at Ibn Ezra at the end. You ever notice that Pisach is the word Pesach? It's the same thing. So says there Ibn Ezra that you have to be, this is Ibn Ezra in Parshat Bo, you have to sit with your belt buckled, meaning you're going to leave. If you're ready to go. Pesachu. It's the time of Pesach. Torah says so. Yesh shemot b'mitzvot, kasher yikareh haba al ha'asham asham. Sometimes there's a name in a mitzvah where the name of the mitzvah and the name of the person doing the mitzvah are conflated. As is called, the one who brings the guilt offering is called the guilt one. Why is this holiday called Pesach? Because God skipped over. He passed over. Lefaseach is to hop. To hop. Uperush piseach al dat rabim kemo chamal. But the word Pesach according to many, is not hop like to skip over, like pass over, but rather to have compassion for. V'chein, hapasuach v'himlit. Uba'avur ayot hamashchit nogef biyad beit hamitzri, since the destroyer comes to the house of the Egyptian to destroy, v'ligov beit Yisraeli, since the house of the Jew, of the Israelite, will not be impacted, nikra Pesach. V'hu migzerot atem poschim. Poschim means from atem poschim means you're hopping, like Eliyahu said to the people on Har HaKarmel, you're hopping from one side to the other. Posech l'shnei, but then it also means v'hu piseach. Where's it quoted from? Our parak. David transformed the Piseach who was lame, the Piseach, into one for whom he could have Pesach, Chemla, compassion. Now, you'll say it's a stretch and I'm anachronistic. Fine. This is the homily. This is the end of the shir, now comes the drasha. You know who took care of people with special needs before anybody else and wanted them at their table and didn't say put them away somewhere and let them live somewhere else? David Malka Mashiach. The great chesed he did for Mephibosheth was not just because he was Yonatan's child, and he learned chesed from Yonatan's actions of chesed, but also because he recognized this guy that society has thrown out, I'm bringing him to eat with me, morning, noon, and night. Shabbos and Yom Tov, he sits by my table. And therefore, the end of the parak is again, V'hu fiseach shtei raglav. Why does he keep harping on it again and again? So the Ibn Ezra here, I think, hints to this idea. Pesach also means not just to pass over, but to hover over because out of a sense of compassion and to dote on someone. And that's what David HaMelech did from Mephibosheth, the son of Yehonatan, the grandson of Shaul HaMelech. Ad Kan for today.
It's a very interesting idea, but why does he feel the need to say that it's because he was repulsed by them that he wouldn't have, that's why the Yevusi put them there, as opposed to saying the Yevusi put them there because a compassionate person is not going to want to have to kill the blind and the lame in order to get into the city.
I mean, you could read the whole thing inside, but he doesn't go in that direction. I would say that's a little bit anachronistic to say that people didn't want to kill off people who were what they used to call in the olden days, about 50 years ago, invalids.
But I'm saying even
Au contraire.
in that story, you
Very
could
happy,
read
they're
it,
expendable.
you could read David that way.
You could, but
He
that's
had
not the Binyan
chesed
Sion. I mean, I
of
presented the Binyan Sion, but you could perhaps read it a different way. But